Well, good morning, and thanks for joining us today as we continue our webinar series with today's live demonstration of JD Edwards. I'm Steve, and I'll host today. As we start here, I'll remind everyone that if you do have questions during the webinar today, just use your GoToMeeting control panel, type in your question, and then hit send. At the end of the event today, we'll have a Q&A session where we'll answer any and all questions that you submit for us. Very happy to be joined again by Steve Mowchan. Steve did our NetSuite demo earlier in the week. Today he's going to show us JD Edwards. So we'll refer to him as the other Steve M. Terillium, as I've said a couple of times now, is an ERP expert implementation firm. We implement several different ERP products, including what we're looking at today, JD Edwards. A lot of these projects can be risky. We'll talk more about that this afternoon. But Terillium's very proud that our combination of methodology, focus on customer success, and really our outstanding consultants have led to multiple awards for our ERP projects. We believe we're only as good as our last reference, and as we've done with each of these product demonstrations, when I say that, I'll show you an example of a reference. We've got dozens and dozens that we can talk about with the JD Edwards product, as that's been around a longer time, and we've been doing it 20 plus years. But I'll use this one, McLean Fog, as an example today. The reason for that is as we move to the next session at 2, Dave Woodworth, our president, will probably reference this project multiple times. He's in charge of this project. It is a larger customer for the JD Edwards market. They're $900 million, right under $1 billion in revenue. So that's a little bit on the larger side of our clients. We've implemented at clients from 10 million in revenue all the way up to even multiples of billions in revenue. McLean is a manufacturer. They act like a holding company for many manufacturing sites across the United States. We have rolled out JD Edwards and are continuing to roll out JD Edwards to many of their different manufacturing entities across the United States and having a ton of success doing that. McLean is an outstanding partner of ours, reference for us. I think they're interesting because they do different types of manufacturing at each site, from automotive components to, discrete make-to-stock manufacturing in one plant to make-to-order in another plant, to even types of process manufacturing, all of which can be done within one instance of JD Edwards. So we'll probably talk more about that this afternoon. That success there is really due to our excellent consultants. We have more than 170 full-time consultants based across the United States. We started this webinar series to help you start your process of comparing, selecting, and getting started with an ERP project. And a list of the sessions we've conducted so far. Of course, now we're in the home stretch here showing JD Edwards this morning, and then ERP project success factors today at 2 o'clock, and we hope you'll join us for that. So let me quickly introduce the JD Edwards product, and then Mr. Mowchan will take over and show you the live demonstration. So some kind of unique things about JD Edwards: a community of 7,000 plus customers, mostly mid-market customers, with a new customer added just about every day. One thing that stands out about JD Edwards is very high customer satisfaction with the product. As you can see on the screen, 95% plus of JD Edwards customers recommend this product to their peers. That is extremely high for an ERP product. JD Edwards used to be its own company. It was bought by Oracle, 12 plus years ago, and has really benefited from the size and scale of Oracle's R&D budget and R&D within the JD Edwards product. Some examples of that include, newer features like advanced forecasting, Google-like searches, which Steve will point out as he gets to the demo, new, revenue recognition features to address that new standard, cognitive AI computing built into the platform, and many more things, including user experience enhancements like searching, reporting. You're going to see as a real strength of JD Edwards, and really personalizing your experience, which Steve will spend some time on this morning. JD Edwards is unique in the industry and certainly within Oracle for its ability to run on anything. You can run JD Edwards on any operating system, any database. So if you like the IBM iSeries, run JD Edwards on that. If you prefer the Oracle database, run it on that. You can run JD Edwards as an on-premise system, so you can install JD Edwards on your own hardware in your server room, or if you choose, you can run JD Edwards in the cloud. It can run in a private cloud from the cloud provider of your choice. It can run in the public cloud on Amazon or Oracle Cloud. It's very flexible, both in terms of what it runs on and how you deploy it. And it's unique in that way. From a how you buy it perspective, you can buy the licenses now and not have to rent them for the rest of your life like you do with the cloud solutions. And Chris Garrity talked about that yesterday when he compared cloud to on-premise. Or you could finance JD Edwards to pay over time, but when that time's up, you're done paying for it. So this is not a SaaS payment policy where you rent it for the rest of your life. You buy it once and you're done. I think Steve will talk more about this, but even though JD Edwards has been around for a long time and been proven, it remains on the forefront of technology, from mobile to Internet of Things, integrating with cloud applications. JD Edwards is right there on the forefront and oftentimes leading all of the other solutions in terms of its modern capabilities. And finally, JD Edwards, since it has been around for a while, has an extremely broad and deep footprint of functionality. 70 plus modules within JD Edwards cover everything in every kind of industry, from manufacturing and distribution to industrial services companies, construction service companies, every real estate companies, project-based companies. Every type of industry can run JD Edwards. It's got extremely wide and deep functionality. Okay, so with that introduction, I will hand it over to Steve Mowchan, who again is a senior solutions consultant at Terillium. Steve specializes in showing multiple ERP systems, so he gives a unique view in comparing the different systems and different features within systems. But before Steve came to work for Terillium, he actually worked for our customers, and so he had real-life experience running JD Edwards as a customer, not just a consultant or a sales guy, and he's very good at lending that experience as well. So Steve Mowchan, thanks for joining us today. We're all excited to see the live demo of JD Edwards.
Thank you, Steve. Well, welcome everyone. I appreciate you taking some time today to watch the demo of Oracle's JD Edwards Enterprise One product. I'm going to show you a couple things. I'll first start with a navigation overview to give you a user experience look and feel, and then we'll go through a quick order to cash scenario where we place a sales order and pick it, ship it, and get the invoice out. What you're seeing now is JD Edwards, one of the more recent things that they've come up with. Steve mentioned the Oracle's huge amount of R&D that they put into JD Edwards. And this is what they call a page. You can think of it as a home page. You can think of it as a landing page or a dashboard. Again, this is what a user might see as part of their overall how I use JD Edwards daily. Now, there are over 150 of these role-based pages. The one you currently are looking at is for a shipping supervisor. So a shipping supervisor is somebody who's going to want to take a look at some high-level data and activities. On the left-hand side, the left-hand column, JD Edwards and Oracle have devised what they've called an alert, analyze, and act. The way that you have your whole day in front of you, what do I want to be alerted by? The left-hand column are what are called watch lists. Now, these watch lists, you can run your everyday activities just by looking at watch lists. In fact, you'll kind of see that later on as we incorporate watch lists into the order to cash scenario. These watch lists will give you up-to-date information, real-time information on things that are very important to you. For example, if I wanted to see, as a shipping supervisor, LTLs that are on hold, now I don't have any, so that's good. So you saw the 0 there, and as I clicked into the watch list, it came back and showed 0, but it will show you the actual data behind the watch list values. So if I were to go into LTL confirmed, you would see the 48 LTL shipments. So that's the alert. Analyze is how I want to work with that data. Help me figure out what I need to do. So the middle part of the screen has a dashboard look and feel with some potential KPI type of graphs or charts. These are interactive. So you have the ability to go through and make changes to them interactive, like to get a better grasp of what it's showing you. And in addition, these also can drill down into the application and show you the data on a detailed row level if you wish to do that as well. But all of this stuff that I'm going to show you today, most of it is come to JD Edwards in the last year or two, and they continue to go gangbusters in giving you pre-built content. The right-hand column, alert, analyze, act. So what do I know now what I want to do and I need to do. Here's where I go do it. Here's just a list of a springboard of some of the applications that the shipping supervisor might use. Or there's also a jump to another springboard of more applications. Now again, these come out of the box with JD Edwards. Over 150 role-based. So pretty much every role in the company could have one of these to start with. You could use as is, you can modify them to tweak them for your needs, or you can create your own. I have a bunch of ones I've created on my own. So you're going to see those as we go through the rest of the navigation and order to cash. I'm going to take a look at what else is on this screen. You do have a home button that gets you always back to your page or your home page, your dashboard. We have a navigator, which allows you to go in and look at menus and some other things. Basically, you don't need menus anymore. They're still there. You know, with what they've given you with these pages, nobody uses the menus, and which is a relief, frankly. This tells me what applications I have running. This one is my previous reports, my recent reports that I've done. We'll see this later on. This is, again, one of my favorite enhancements that have occurred. You can quickly see and quickly get back to and find things that you have created. Favorites, you can still load in applications and such into favorites. Watch lists, which we'll talk about, and notifications. I will spend a little time on these as well. Those are really, really cool, and I'm going to get very excited about them when we get to that. All right, so you can personalize a lot of this stuff. Even though it's given to you in JD Edwards, a lot of the user experience, in fact, they call it UX1, really gives a lot of power to the end users and gets them productive, and also removes an IT bottleneck that really existed for a long time in ERP systems. Now, as we go along, I'm going to show you some of the personalization that you can do. You do have some preferences and such. The one I really want to focus on here is open application in new window. As you can have up to 10 applications open in JD Edwards at one time. You can either choose to pop open a new window in your browser, or you can have them just be logged in JD Edwards and jump back and forth to them by using your Open Applications button, as we saw up here in the upper left. Now, JD Edwards runs on really every major browser and internet browser. So anywhere that you can get internet, you can get to JD Edwards. I'm going to hop on over now to one of my pages that I've created. You'll notice it looks different. You're at your disposal, different colors, different formats and layout. This is one that I've created to help maintain customers and items. So I have an item master browse front and center, and then applications over to the left that I would use to work with customers and items. One of the cool things that you'll see is all of the inquiry and maintenance and entry screens look a little bit like Excel, and they have those same capabilities in most of what you can do in Excel. For example, if I'm wanting to take this items or description column and make it wider, I can do that just by dragging and dropping. And this stuff is then permanent. I don't need to contact anyone in IT. If I want to drag and drop stocking type and move stocking type over next to item number, I can do that. Other things within my Excel looking grids, I can hide columns. I can freeze. If I want to hold the left hand most important columns and then scroll the right hand side of the screen to look at everything else that's out there, I can do that. Really some stuff that, again, has given a lot of power to the users to get the data how they want to view it. And none of this involves IT or any development or any publishing or pushing of the information out from a centralized IT format. Although you can, if you get these formats and these personalizations done, you can push them out to other users so they can have access to them as well. All of this stuff that I'm looking at with these roles and these dashboards or pages, this ties right to security. So if you have a security to a role, that could get you access to a lot of the applications and such that you need. You can also tie that down even tighter by user or by individual data. JD Edwards has great security that gives only the access that you need, and even will then go down to, I'm allowing inquiry for one user, but inquiry, add, and delete for a different user. The import-export of data is also Excel-like and really integrates very well to Excel. There's an export button that basically allows you to take any of this information that you have, and let me go in and get you a little bit wider view of this. And what I've done here, before I get to that, I'll take a look, and you have the ability to save columns and save formats on this. If you have a big screen that has lots of columns and you want to just see a few, you can tie in and just quickly personalize the grid to show only a few columns. I'm only going to show item number description, align type, stocking type, and then a few segments. I'm going to save that. And you can also set it to default, so I can have a default. Now, what this does is as I exit this, you'll see now I've created a much more simplistic view of the data. JD Edwards has been around for a while. It's got a lot of breadth and depth to different industries, and because of that, there are a lot of fields out there specific to certain industries that you may or may not need. That it's great because it's flexible, that it can have all these things and do all these things for you, but you may not want to see everything. So here it shows you just how easy it is to take a screen that had lots of columns and show me only the ones that I wanted to see. Really neat stuff. Getting back to our exporting of data, so now that I've got data here, I can click on this, and now I have the ability to export it to Excel, to a CSV, to a clipboard. I can choose a range if I want it, or I can just export the whole thing, and you'll see it's opened up now in Excel spreadsheet, and it'll come up here and give me my header columns and all of the data. This is throughout JD Edwards, anywhere that has a grid. You can also do copy and paste, both out of JD Edwards into Excel and from Excel into an input-capable grid in JD Edwards. For example, if you had a customer send you a sales order and they've sent you items and quantities in a grid, in a Excel spreadsheet, you can copy and paste those directly into JD Edwards sales order entry, and it will do all the edit checking and all the functionality within JD Edwards as if you were keying them in one by one. So again, that's a really powerful tool if you have some systems outside of JD Edwards that you want to be able to pass data back and forth to. So we talked about, now we've got these lots of individual fields. So as I go in here to the item master, I'm going into an item master record. There's a couple of things that you're going to see. I've got various window-like programs broken up in the screen into multiple applications. I have on the left my item master. I have on the right an item branch, which is basically JD Edwards' way of saying your warehouse. What warehouses is this item applicable to? And then another box for work with item unit to measure conversions. These other two windows on the right are not part of the regular item master. I created these in what's called Cafe 1. It's basically a really, really powerful new tool within JD Edwards to give you access to multiple applications within one application. I just went into Item Master and I was able to bring up corresponding data from the item branch or warehouse and that item's unit of measure table and program. We'll see this again later on in my order to cash demo, and you'll see why it's so powerful and why it's such a huge efficiency gains and productivity gains for your end users. So JD Edwards, we're in Item Master. We've got different tabs here: basic item data, additional data, weights and measures, lot processing, lots and lots of fields, like I mentioned. Don't think that it's overwhelming, because there are tools to make it very simplistic. Now, if I've only got a few fields here that I really want to use, and I don't even want to see the other ones, I can go into form personalization. Now, this is something that, again, You can have down to the user level, but generally this is going to be a business analyst or a super user. I go and personalize my form. You see these immediately get some symbols by them. I can remove individual fields. I can remove an entire group, entire box of them if I wanted, and add a few back. I can move things around. I want to take my fields here and do a different layout. I can do that. If I want to move fields over here, and again, you can group fields and do multiple field moves at one time. And really, again, what I'm doing here is just allowing myself to make some more different sorting values and what fields are in what order. So if I'm entering a new item, I want to be able to go boom, 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 boom from top left to bottom right and enter the fields that I need and hide everything else that I don't need to enter. That's how you do that with this. And again, allows you to make the screen larger or smaller. If I wanted to make it smaller, then put another Cafe 1 down below here where all this empty space is. That's what this is for. If I want to change the name, rename this. Say second description. Or anything else that the verbiage in JD Edwards doesn't match what your company wants. You can do this here. You can do this also system-wide. Very easy to do. No longer have to go to a developer to say, can you please go change unit of measure? I need to shorten that field. Can you just put U/M or UOM? And then that will also allow me to make this field shorter. And make this field longer. So again, that is something that's newer in JD Edwards, and it is a huge time saver. Attachments. How many people need to have some sort of documentation that's tied to an item, a customer, a sales order, a purchase order, a work order? Everywhere that has a row of data in JD Edwards has attachment availability. I'm going to do a little filtering here, which we'll get into in a second, to the item for red grapes. You notice I've got a little paper clip here. So it shows me that I've got an attachment. I've got a picture of a red grape. That picture will show up other places throughout JD Edwards if you want to see pictures of an item next to item information. So I have a quick look into, inquiry into some specific fields without having to go into the actual item master and look them all up. And then I've got a picture of the item that could show up, you know, on a website or in sales order entry and that type of thing. These attachments have multiple options. I have a picture. I can do any file, so a Word document, a PowerPoint. If I have a text box that I want to put in here for text notes on the item or for a customer, that's where you do a lot of that. URLs. And this is really nothing more than going and doing either a drag and drop into this box, or you can have it search from certain folders that you have up on a network or on a local file. You can also do a search on a local file. And again, those attachments can either be stored in the JD Edwards database or in the cloud. That's a newer function again of JD Edwards as Oracle continues to enhance the product. You can now put attachments in a cloud location. Okay, as we go through now and say, now I want to be able to look at data and do some filtering of data. I'm going to go to a different page and bring up sales orders. I'll open up the screen larger so you can get a better look at it. If I just click Find, I get lots of data. All right. I don't want to see everything. I want to see certain things. So there's the simple filters at the top of each of these columns that have a white box. You can filter on those columns. So if I say I want to look for item number 210, it'll filter 210. And then I also want to look for a ship to customer. And so it does these in conjunction. So it's an and type of filter or query. It has its limitations though. I do have some I can do greater than or less than and some other things. But if I want to do item 210 and item 221 or ship to 3333 and 4242 for Richard's Products and Bob's Hardware, I can't do that here. So there are enhanced queries. And these are part of the ability to now get a little more detailed. So I'm going to create one of these. Notice as soon as I've said to create a new query, I get pluses on all the different fields. So if I want to say, show me ship to, and in a list, 3333, 4242, and then an item number, 210, and 221. And then I can also do a lot of things with dates. I'm not going to get too much into this, but you have the ability to say date processing based on today. So you don't have to recreate these queries. If I want to say, give me all of my orders that are requested beyond today, I don't have to reset a date every day. It will know today, or today plus or minus a certain number of days or months or years. So you can get really detailed in what you want to see. For these queries. So as I now save this, find, and now you see I've got 210, I've got 4242, I've got 221, I've got some 3333 customers in here. So it allows me to then build a query that I can go to every day if I need to. If you have a query, if you have a need to say, I want to pay attention to my most important customers' orders, sales orders, I can create a query and show them orders that are ready to be shipped, or orders that might be late, or all of their orders. And then you only have to go select that from your query dropdown. And that makes your day much easier to manage what you need to manage. So we've got also, building on that, we have what are watch lists. They can turn these queries into what you need to know. If I'm a customer service person, I might want to see orders potentially late, orders on credit hold, or back orders that are ready to ship. And again, like we saw on the initial screen, you can just click on one of these and it'll show you the data behind the watch list. Very powerful. Even more powerful than that, notifications. Watch lists are great, and they are, but you have to be within JD Edwards logged in to see them. Notifications take that another step. They will send you via an email or a text message information that's critical to you. In addition to sending you that information, it can do things automatically. JD Edwards, like the automobile industry with vehicles being autonomous, JD Edwards is also going in that direction, getting more and more autonomous. For example, a notification might send you an email or a text message that says, this particular item has gone to negative on-hand quantity in this location. Well, obviously you can't have an item go negative on hand. It can't be less than 0 on hand. So that's a major issue. Well, your first thought might be, well, let's go do a cycle count on that item or that location or that warehouse or some combination. Well, you know what? Instead of you getting this message wherever you are or whenever it hits, the notification can also automatically create a cycle count and kick that off for that item or that location. Automatically, get that moving immediately. Of course, we want to take a look at this in further detail. Let's not wait until I can get logged in. Again, Oracle continues to push really, really great enhancements into the user experience in JD Edwards. So this global search that we've got now, Steve mentioned, really was wanted for years from end users. This is what just comes flat out of the box with JD Edwards. I can type in Bob and get into my searches, items, customers, address book, or you can create your own. It's very easy to do. You can have searches created even if you have created modules outside of JD Edwards that are using the same database. And of course, now you've got lots of drill down. You can look at current sales orders for this customer or invoices, information about that. I can go into the customer, you go into customer statistics, invoices, and link again directly into applications for that particular piece of data that you're looking at. So again, a lot of this enhancement gives you quick access around the system. You don't have to go click a bunch of buttons. You don't have to go search, blindly for what screen or what program I need to go to. The search feature is great. One view reporting is also something I want to quickly touch on here. You have the ability to easily do your own reports and push that down out of a developer and push that down to business analysts and really power users. You don't need to understand for the one view reporting, you don't have to understand what the table name is, what the field name is, how to join stuff together. I have a supplier cost analysis inquiry screen. If I want to go in and create a new report, it's similar again to what we've seen with the queries. I get fields that pop up. Maybe I want supplier number, supplier name, item number, order date. We're going to do quantity and purchase extended cost. Now all these things come from different tables, but the one view doesn't care. It's really as simple as going and selecting them and then gotta use my current name. Basically going in and selecting them and then showing how they are formatted. Now, these formats are basically allowing you to quickly create the reports. I don't have time to go in and do that, but it's really just a few minutes worth of work, and it gives you reports that look like they are done by someone in IT and took a day to create, and it takes 5 minutes. But again, I want to make sure we're running a little behind on time. I don't want to go over our hour. So one-view reporting, if you're looking at JD Edwards, you have to do that. You can easily get myself or someone from Terillium to give you an overview of one-view reporting and to take the time to go into a little more detail than I would have had here. There are also mobile applications. JD Edwards was the first ERP system to run native on an iPad. You can run full JD Edwards Enterprise One on an iPad using all the different swipes and camera and the different gestures within the iPad. And there are over 80 purpose-built applications, mobile applications for JD Edwards Enterprise One. You can take a look at those that are available on your Google Play or the Apple iStore. Just type in JD Edwards and you can see what's available. They're very cool. They are obviously all the screens formatted for the smaller amount of space. Really neat stuff that they've come up with there too. All right, we've gone through a pretty quick navigation on JD Edwards. I'm going to go into now an order to cash scenario and do a little quick scripting here. I'll go into my order inquiry screen. You see the icons up here in the upper left. Obviously, you've got a find and an add and a copy. It's a nice, easy stuff to just quickly view. As I enter the customer information, note that I don't need to know the customer number. I can just start typing their name and it'll filter down until I find what I'm looking for. And also take a look here. We've got another Cafe One set up. All right. As I click through and create my customer, what customer I'm entering, notice it switched now to show me all of those customer's orders, starting with the most recent order and then going back through history. Well, why is this important? Could be a couple reasons. If I'm a customer service rep on the phone with a customer and they're saying, oh, I ordered this, last month, I can't remember what the product's exactly what it's called or what the item number is, I can go through here and do searches on description or item numbers and see what they've ordered recently. Or if I'm customer service and I'm on the phone and they place an order for 3 items and I look back and say, well, you ordered this particular item last month and you're not ordering it again, or I haven't seen you order it in a while. Why not? Real good feedback back and forth. So again, you can also type in item numbers by description. You don't need to type in the item number. You can also type in description. It'll bring up a list of items with that description. Some of the cool things to see here, I've just typed in an item and quantity. It's given me a unit price. That's all, integrated into JD Edwards. Supply monitor. This is really cool. Yes, you can easily get to my availability on hand at different warehouses and such, but the supply monitor tells me what's the chances of this getting fulfilled. And if I click on it, I get a graphical representation of what my expected on hand will be or available will be over the next, in this case, the next month. Notice I've got a quantity order down here. So if I were to put this quantity ordered to 500, here you'll quickly see now where that shows up on my supply and demand graph. And here, obviously, as it goes up, we must have a purchase order that's due to be received. We'll have some more quantity on hand. If you had other sales orders out there, you'd see that decrement the quantity available or on hand. Last thing I want to show you here, there's a line advisor. Well, what is a line advisor? Tells me I've ordered 15. There are upsell opportunities at different price breaks. If I order 25, my unit price goes from 428 to 406. If I order 100, it goes down to 393. Something that the customer might want to be reminded of. Or also an order advisor. Hey, customers that order this particular item you just entered also usually want to buy this one or might want to buy this one. Putting, again, all this stuff that is usually for customer service reps, built up knowledge over years, into a brand new customer service rep can look at these tabs and know immediately what to tell the customer, how to better serve them. Again, really wonderful stuff. You saw I really didn't need to enter a lot of information there either to go put the sales order in. So there's our sales order. JD Edwards uses statuses to flow the sales orders through, or any sales orders, purchase orders, work orders, to flow them through the system, allowing you to configure your exact order processes. You can make them simple, you can make them complex. You can say this customer requires an order confirmation, or this customer requires an ASN. Well, these others don't. It's configurable easily by item and or customer. So now that we've entered the item, now we're going to go pick and ship it. I'm going to go over to my shipping page. If I take a look here, shipment's ready to pick. There's one. Well, I wonder what that one is. That's the one that we just entered. So it's telling me, oh, I got something to do. As I go through here, this really a two-step process now. A lot of it could be done and is usually done through scanners, through data collection. But first, I'm going to approve the shipment. Well, why is it a two-step process? I've gone from pending to approved. This ties back to the sales order and advances that status I told you about. Basically telling the customer service rep, the warehouse is now actively working on fulfilling this order. Meaning if the customer calls in and wants to make a change, the customer service rep won't have to call the warehouse and go, where are you guys with this order? You can take a look at your order status and it will tell you based on what's happened with the warehouse. And then a simple confirmation. And again, especially this confirmation is typically done on the shipping dock with a scanner. And now that's gone away because it's no longer needing to be picked. If I refresh my alert, it's now showing 0. So I picked it and shipped it. Again, you can have more different status flows. You can have a specific pick. You could have a pack. You could have a staging. It's up to you. If I go back to my manage existing order here, now if I take a look at this status when I refresh, it's actually even gone through and automatically printed my invoice. Okay? The invoicing process in JD Edwards can be automatic. It can be on a scheduled job that you want to do at the end of the day or multiple times a day. It's up to you. I went ahead and had it automatically printed. So this says the last thing it did was print my invoice. The next thing I'm going to do is to send it off to finance so you can be ready to apply cash when the customer goes to pay. We talked earlier about the recent reports. Let me show you something here before we go and finish up. I'm going to go back and work with the shipment. This is my favorite thing to show about JD Edwards. I've gone into looking at shipping documents. The system has already showed me what needed to print and will automatically print those as I decide to either print or as I ship confirm. In this case, I was printing a bill of lading. A certificate of analysis, obviously that product required some sort of testing. An invoice, if I want to send it with a shipment. A manifest, a packing list, shipping labels, all integrated, all automatic. If you have different requirements by customer or by carrier or by item, these are all handled through what are called document sets in JD Edwards. You can specify what documents need to print for each combination. Nobody in shipping needs to remember what to produce. Nobody in shipping needs to remember, oh, geez, that customer wants me to use their packing list. You put it in a document set and the system remembers. Shipping guys, I've seen literally jump up and down when we show them this functionality. It's no longer on their shoulders to try to remember all the different combinations. If you have a Canadian or international order, it'll print a customer Canadian customs invoice or a commercial invoice if you're going to Mexico or South America or somewhere. So the country of destination can also impact your document set. So valuable. It's all part of JD Edwards transportation that, again, is integrated and completely built in. And oh yeah, that recent reports, I can go down and see where it printed my certificate of analysis. It did an invoice to send EDI. So you can send invoices or other documents EDI or through email. Did a packing list print, printed some labels, my shipping manifest, my bill of lading. And if I wanted to go look at that bill of lading, all I had to do here is just go click on this. Oh, I've got to click on the print version, not the build. And it would pop up that document in a PDF or Word or whatever you defined the document to be created in. So I hope you've seen with JD Edwards, as we finish now our order to cash, an interface, user interface and user experience that is now very modern, quickly gains you access to data throughout the system, and allows you to let the system do a lot of the work for you, heading toward that autonomous utopia that so many users would love. At that point, I'm finished with my demo, and I can send things back to Mr. Steve May for any questions that may have come in.
Yeah, thank you, Steve Mowchan. Very nice demo. Always appreciate you taking the time to do that. So I'll remind everybody, looks like we've got one question here, but if anybody does have any questions about what Steve showed or anything else about JD Edwards or even ERP in general, happy to answer those right now. Just type in your question, hit send. So Steve, I'll take this one. It's the standard question I've seen for all the products, and that's how long does it take to implement? This one definitely falls in the 6 to 12 month time frame that we heard Jeff Carr from Ultra talk about, with a target of about 9 months. Of course, those things are all influenced by the scope of your requirements. Do you manufacture or are you distribution only? How many sites do you have? Your internal team's capability to engage on the project. All of those things will factor in. But in general, fast implementation, 6 months. Longer implementations, more like a year. McLean Fogg, who you'll hear referenced and I referenced earlier, that's dozens of sites are being rolled out across the United States, and obviously that takes multiple years. So anywhere in that time frame. So any other questions, type them in quickly here, and if I see them, we'll be happy to address them. Otherwise, if you have any after we end, we'd be happy to address those one-on-one. So Steve Mowchan, thank you. Good demo. Really appreciate you doing that for us today. And to everyone who participated as part of the audience, thank you for your time. I hope this was valuable. I actually just got a question in here, so let's read this. How much time does it take to include custom apps or files to get included into E1 pages. Let's see if I can understand what that means. Custom apps into E1 pages. Okay, so if we build a custom app within JD Edwards or a custom file within JD Edwards, then you absolutely have the ability to include it in an E1 page, just like you would any other app or any other file in JD Edwards. Those E1 pages will bring in any kind of object, a screen, a report, etc., whether it's custom or standard, with the exact same effort. So as Steve said, setting up your E1 page is very fast, easy, intuitive. It's like a drag and drop type of a function. Takes a couple of minutes and you've got an E1 page up. So very good question. JD Edwards has that platform for building fields, screens, tables, integrations to other systems. It lets you do all of that, and then using those objects within anything in JD Edwards is very simple. So good question. Thanks for asking that. Any others, we'd be happy to follow up personally. Thanks, everybody. Hope this was a good use of your time. Please join us back here at 2 o'clock Eastern for what I think is the most important session if you're thinking about a project, and that is listen to people who have done it hundreds of times and hear about the good, the bad, and some tips to keep your project successful. That's at 2 o'clock. We hope to see you then. Thank you, everyone.